Hi all. Today, this is my first live daily report. So I have decided that there's a this gap that I was seeing. A lot of our members are were asking about. They had a lot of questions about how to use Outlier, and even when I was trading, many questions do came that how to use Outlier, how I am using in my trading strategies and all that. So I decided that I want to run these trading rooms in form of like a daily report. Monday through Friday, I'll try my best to um, do it, on day-to-day basis. If there's some urgent things come up, then I may reschedule. But most of the time, I'll stick to this particular schedule. So let's get started. And then I'm just getting familiar with this tool. I just started learning about this tool from Grace. I mean, he runs this show pretty much every day, and this is my first day. I'm just still trying to, get a hang of this tool and how to use it and all that. So bear with me if I'm messing up a little bit. So again, Outlier daily report. What to expect from this daily report? What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at Outlier platform. I'm going to look at Outlier data, do daily market analysis, a little bit of scan. You'll see where the opportunities are. You'll see my viewpoint of, how I see the market that day, whether I would trade that day or I'll stay out of the market. So you'll know a lot of things, how I look at Outlier and other data point. So that's kind of the goal of this session here. And again, my goal for this session is to show you my four-step process, how I look at Outlier data, how I look at some of the other data points, and a how I look at the other data points and how I make my decision. So I try to keep it simple. I try to make sure that you guys understand the platform in depth, and then you can build your own strategies. Right, you have your own strategies. You can use Outlier data in conjunction with your own strategies to trade more. So before I get started, let's see, we have a few people here who are joining again. This is my first live show, so I'm just trying to learn the ropes here. So bear with me. We have some of the folks and hi, Bluefin Trader, watch channel IDE, business development videos. So let's get started. So, for those who don't know me, let me just start with a brief introduction. My name is Mahesh Kashyap. I am a co founder at Outlier, and I do have around 15 plus years of experience building tech in the financial world. So, let's start with what is Outlier. So, last week, actually, Chris, myself, and Mark, we sat down and we were like, hey, how we can simplify the explanation of Outlier, what it does. So we decided to come up with a very simple explanation. And Outlier monitors how investors are reacting to changing market conditions, news, price, the market movements, and the economy. And we have algorithms that determines if investors are acting irrationally, fearful or greedy, and by how much. And my goal for today's session is to show you a simple, like literally a simple no nonsense approach um, to use Outlier. So that's kind of like my goal is. I have divided my trading, my approach into this four-step process that I'm going to explain to you. So I'm not going to give you like a rundown of the PowerPoint slides here. What I'm going to do is for each of these four steps, I'm going to pull Outlier dashboard. I'm going to pull some of the other tools that I look to make a decision. So let's get started. So the step number for one, market and sector analysis. I call it riding the wave. In my opinion, that you should only trade when your market and sector is aligned with that trade. So imagine if you think that stock is gonna move from this point onwards in the upward direction, right? What if there's the whole sector is also pushing you, the whole market is also pushing you, they are all aligned in the same direction. That is very important for me, and I think that should be very, very important to you as well, to make sure that the whole sector, the whole market is also aligned. um, and I want to give you an idea of some of the tools and data that I use. So definitely, I use Outlier platform, and I'll show you in a second how. I do use TrendSpider platform, which again I started learning from Chris, and I have couple of these beautiful strategies that Chris used in his golden ticket strategy, and I also use that as a guiding principle of when to get out, and also a confirmation signal to make sure that the decisions that I'm making are in line with overall market. So I have mashed up this strategy where I use my strategy. I have some component from Chris strategy. By the way, you should watch what Chris shares every day in his trading room. It's I learn every day, by the way. I also look into Google, .com. I look into some of the other macroeconomic data points like your uh, ISM data, your Fed announcements, payroll, how the payroll numbers are looking, how employment numbers are looking. Is there any global event that is going to impact, you know, the overall market movement, the overall sector movement? So let's dive into this. The number one strategies, how I look into the sector market using outlier data, using some of the other data to make sure everything is in order. So this, I start with market breadth. I go to outlier.com, pull my dashboard, I go to market breadth. And the key thing that is important to me is I pull back this like that. So right now, if you see, if Chris also has explained this beautifully, how he incorporates market breadth. I actually take a little bit one more step forward. So I make sure that if I'm planning to go long, I don't want to go long when it's kind of at closer to 75%, it is turning direction. I don't want to go long when market, if market breadth is telling me that, hey, the market is in correction mode, I don't want to go long. I look for time when the market breadth is kind of changing direction, when it's moving downward, right? You see it's moving downward and it is changing direction. Plus, I look into these uptrend and downtrend indicators. So what it is, as you guys are aware of, for every stock we have this unique indicator whether a stock is in uptrend or a stock is in downtrend. You can see the blue overlay, sorry, the green overlays and these red overlays. And in the back end, we do have the count, right? We do have this count of how many stocks are in uptrend for that sector, right? Or for overall market at any given day, or how many stocks are in downtrend. It gives me an idea of whether you are seeing a correction within that sector or an index, or it has started recovering by just looking at this data. For example, I'll give you example. So here the market breadth, the bullish percent has started to go up, right? what is the like on August 13. But if I look closely uh, to the daily count here, uh, the number of stocks in uptrend are 163, and number of stocks in downtrend trend are 135. Now, I want to make sure for me to determine if the market has started recovering or not, I need to see this number going in more favorable way. What does that mean? I need to make sure that more stocks, right? More stocks within S&P 500. By the way, I have selected S&P 500 here. You can select full coverage, right? You can select DGIA, which is Dow. You can select any sector. For now, for the reference, I have selected S&P 500. So coming back here, what I'm looking on August 13 is that there are 163 stocks in uptrend, 135 in downtrend. Now I go to next day on August 14. I see number of stocks have started going up in uptrend, right? And it is flattening for the number of stocks which are in downtrend. And around August 15, you will see that number of stocks, right? This is very, very important. Number of stocks which are going in uptrend has started to go up, right? And number of stocks within S&P 500, right, has started to go down. Very important, because when this happens, you will start seeing overall recovery, prices starts going up. Because imagine more stocks in uptrend, less stocks in downtrend, where the prices will go, they are going to push up. So that's kind of one of the key thing I look for. I also go back and pull. Okay, let me see. So let me pull Trend Spider, which I recently started using uh, after learning from Chris, actually. So, and he was kind enough to share one of the workspace. In fact, he created a new workspace for me to run my analysis, so we don't have to pay twice. Okay, so this is Adobe. Let me see if I can pull Spy. Okay, right. So let's go back to August 12 or 14, actually 13, 14. So you see this right here. One of the Chris's key strategy, which he calls golden tickets strategy, you need to make sure that the 10 EMA is above, daily 10 EMA is above 20, which kind of is in line with what I'm seeing here. It's kind of it was below, it started going up. So when I look at what these charts are telling me, and when I look at what outlier market breadth is telling me, I feel confident, right? I can. Okay, so first of all, I cannot tell the market is going to go up or market is going to go down, but all I can do is come up with, be come up with these data points, these supports, to make sure that everything is in that order. I want to make sure that things are aligned, right? I want to make sure the probability for the market to go up is higher. And how do I make sure that? I need to make sure that some of these data points are in sync, right? When they are out of sync, if I'm not sure, then I'll probably stay out of the market. So both of these data points are telling me that, yeah, it's a good time to to get in the market. And of course, at that time, right, uh, I look at Fed's announcement. Like, there are so many, there was so much volatility in the market because of how Fed was going back and forth with what they were saying, right? Um, People were literally getting scared when Fed become a little bit more hawkish. You probably see a lot of correction in the market, lot of volatility in the market. When they go dovish, you may see a lot of people getting excited. So I do kind of keep these things in mind when making a decision. For example, if I come back to today, right, my sector analysis, my market breadth analysis is telling me that yes, this is a good time to get in, right? Because I'm looking at these uptrend and downtrend counts. It started to look more favorable, right? This bullish person, it has started to change direction. So in a way, it's a good thing, right? I look at Chris's indicator, which he shared. It's also aligned, but there's a big meeting coming up, like on Wednesday. Uh, how much they are going to cut? What kind of impact it will have on the market? I do not know, honestly. And I hate to guess. I hate to guess. So events like these, I would rather wait for it to happen, and that way I can see what the impact's gonna be. I mean, market can go up really crazy, or it can go down. I don't know, because historically, if you look at when Fed has cut these rates in past, it's not guaranteed that the stock market is always going to go up. It depending on the other factors as well. For example, how the employment is looking, how some of these other data points are looking, whether economy is going strong, things like that. How fast, how big these cuts gonna be. So there are so many factors, um, and then you never know how the market is gonna react. So for me, right now, even though things are aligned, I would wait until this meeting is over on Wednesday, and after that, I will have a fair idea, whether to get in or out of the market. So okay, coming back to step number one. So step number one is very important, right? Anytime I want to make a trade, whether I'm trading SPY, right? Whether I'm trading some other indexed ETF or sector ETF, I may look into this. But if I'm trading some stock, for example, Adobe or Nvidia or anything, I want to make sure that market is aligned. Then I move on to step number second, which is finding opportunities, hot stocks and ETFs, and some of the tools. In fact, I just use OVTLYR for that. I don't use anything else, because I think we have, you'll find pretty much all the opportunities right here within the platform. So how do you do that? We have a couple of places. One, we have added this new screener, right? This third tab, you can expand, you can collapse, you can put together a nice filtered criteria to look for these opportunities. You can scroll right, you can scroll left, and you will find some of the good opportunities here. Or we have this watch list, daily watch list. What you will see is a list which is updated every day before market opens. It will show you all the opportunities in buy and sell, right? And again, the way I treat it, I don't blindly pick up any stock and trade it. Remember, you have to stick to a criteria. You have to have a system in place to decide. Again, to me, like, I have this four-step process. I look at the broader market, right? I try to find, okay, which stocks I want to focus on, right? I may have some favorites, right? Many of us do, like Nvidia or Apple or whatnot. You have these favorite stocks and you only trade those. Or you can come here, right? Look at the bull list. You can expand it. One of the criteria that I have is, I don't want to trade a stock which is like the average 30-day average volume is less than a million. Like if it is closer to million, it's fine, but it is like 37,000, uh, you know, average volume. I would rather stay away from those stocks. I love stocks where the volume is high, so that is one of the criteria. Then, if I'm going long, right, I don't want to look into stocks which are in downtrend, right? I'll just filter them out, right? So what will happen is you will only see the list of stocks which are in uptrend or are in neutral status. So once you filter it out, you'll be able to see. So again, coming back to how I create this initial list of opportunities. I look at daily volume. I filter it by overlay. If I just want to look into uptrend, downtrend, I can look into it. uh, then I start looking into individual stock. Let's say every night, when our portal get updated. By the way, it gets updated around 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, right? So I'm in California, so I can sit down and I can start, doing this little bit of analysis one night before, and then before market opens, I do remaining of my analysis. Let's say I have a list of 5 stocks. I look at daily average volume, some of the other criteria. For example, I don't like healthcare stocks. For me, if something is in healthcare, I don't understand that sector well, because it's just beyond my comprehension. Sometime how they move. So again, you have a favorite criteria. You can finalize a list of stocks, which brings me to my third step. Now you have a list of 5, 10 stocks every day, right? Or an ETF. Now you want to trim that list. How do you trim that list? Is you want to run further analysis. You want to look into, again, um, outlier data. I look into some of the other data point, like from Yahoo Finance. uh, Trend Spider act as a guidance, right? I just want to make sure that there are some red flags. Like for example, Chris has this beautiful um, strategy, again, golden ticket strategy. When the close price, it closes below 20 moving average, you exit. I mean, I think it's one of those places. In past I have struggled, and I have struggled too. I'm learning every day, but you need to have some of these things where you can make sure that things are in order. You are in a position, right? You want to watch your position every day, make sure that there's no red flags, and then I'll cover that in a second. But Trend Spider helps me. Some of these charting software helps me with that. And then I also look into news, and I have this favorite um, website, which is not very common. I'll show you in a second, but it helps me get all the relevant news quickly, so I don't have to go everywhere. So let's look into how I'm going to trim some of these stocks. For example, let's look into one stock. What I look into, and I have already pulled Adobe. Uh, okay. So those who are familiar with the platform, you know what this chart tells you. For those who are not familiar with this platform, I'll quickly go over what each data point is. These green and red overlays tells you if there is a uptrend or downtrend present in that stock. And remember that market breadth chart that I see, where I look at that count change. It's derived from this data point, where we know daily count of the uptrend and downtrends, and then we can show there. But this is simply, if a stock is in uptrend or downtrend, it helps, right? If a stock is in uptrend, I can be a little bit more relaxed with my exit strategy, right? So anytime you get into a stock, the first decision you have to make, should I buy or not? Like, should I get in? If you are an option trader, um, should I go long? or should I go short, right? Should I buy calls or puts, whatnot? So you have this strategy. So the first decision that you make to get into the stock, and one of the very hard decision to make, is when to get out. So you need to have some strategy uh, in place to get out of the stock. So again, coming back to what these data points are: heat map, right? Very powerful, and I think Chris uses it in one of in his exit strategy, when to get out. And if you hover your mouse here, right, what you will see is that every day we assign a value. Um, uh, it ranges from R1 to R50. When you see a value which is in R right here, that means right now the stock is in that fear zone, and we have assigned a value of, let's say in this case, on September 26th, 2022, the value of heat map is R48. Remember, R1 to R50, 50 being the extreme. Right now we are looking at these extreme points. And why these extreme points are important, you may not see them every day, right? But once a year, once every other year, you may see times when you may see these extreme points. Here is the thing: if a company is good, right, you'll know, like, if the company is good or not. Adobe is a good company, they make money. You look at their financial statements, uh, they do good job, right? They sell, they have a lot of clients, the company is not going to go anywhere. Same thing with Google, same thing with Microsoft. Again, something goes wrong, that is a different story, but there are companies which are good. And times like these, when you see these extreme fearful zones where the values are closer to R48, in my opinion, those are the times when you should go greedy, right? Back in COVID drawdown, the value was closer to, again, around the same. If other things align well, then I think these are amazing times to get in. And your exits, you can be a little bit relaxed, right? With your exit when there's a bigger pullback in the market, when there's a lot of fear in the market, and when it start to recover, right? Now what you will see, that you will see a smaller pullback. It's not going to go like, oh yeah, it's going, one day it's $10, next day 20, 30, 40, 50. No, it's not. It's never like that. As it is recovering, right, you may see smaller pullback. But, right, if you get into times like these when there's extreme fear and other things align, there are no like big red flags, then I think you can hold on to that position for a little bit long. You can be what I call risk on at those times, rather than risk off, to see bigger return. And again, this data point is very, very important. Chris has this, again, wonderful strategy when he has a predefined exit. Like, oh, if I'm seeing, for example, G, I don't know, 30 or 25, I want to just get out, right? That's very, very sound strategy. Again, when you are within a stock, you can make your own strategy. Sometimes what I do is I look at, yeah, it has hit my G, let's say 25, right? It's time for me to get out. But let me look at some of these other things. Is stock is an uptrend, right? Oh yeah, it's an uptrend. The oscillator is going up. I'll come to oscillator in a second. And then sometime I come back here and I look here, right? If the stock is if the 10 EMA is, for example, in this case, is already like going up, it's not kind of the distance between 10 and 20 EMA is not like reducing. It's kind of in a good way. I can be greedy for, let's see, day by day. On day by day basis, I can decide whether I need to be in the stock or not. But I think when you have the time, when it hit your exit strategy, for example, my exit strategy is, let's say, G30, right? I look into some of these other data points, whether the stock is an uptrend, how the overall market is looking, things like that. And I can stay in that stock for a little bit more time to make sure that I make a little bit more money, but you need to be careful. As soon as you start seeing things which are, you know, not in line with your strategy, one of the thing that Chris explained, that close it, if it close below 20 EMA, I think it's time to get out during those times, right? You may lose, like it's not you lost money, your profit actually went down from, I don't know, 50% to 10%, for example, right? But you will see, if you don't do like this, if you don't exit at those points, then you may be looking at even a loss, right? And it was one of the hardest thing. Like, I listened to what Chris explains. It's the same story with everybody, same story with me also. It's very hard for me to get out when you are like on that winning streak, when the prices are going up, you are seeing sudden increase, and it's going from 10% to 20%, 30%. I'm talking about options here. uh, and suddenly day like this happens, when all of your profits that you saw, the paper profits, you haven't exited, all of the paper profits go down the drain. Then it's time for you to squash that hope and just be real and get out. Otherwise, things can go worse. And it happened to me. It happens to um, pretty much everybody out there. Okay, coming back to my analysis here on Adobe. So, heat map, oscillator. Oscillator is something that I look into to gauge which way the price is headed in the near future. When this oscillator is kind of changing direction and falling downward, right? I would like to stay out of the market if possible, right? If things are kind of, other things are not looking good, I would just get out. Why? Because there's very high probability. Again, it's not guaranteed that it's gonna go down, but there's a very high probability that the prices are gonna head in that correction zone, right? And if you're holding on to a position, you may see a pullback. So how it helps me when it is changing direction from bottom to up, I feel confident. Of course, I look into other factors of the data as well, but I feel confident that prices are going to go up. So if I'm sitting on sidelines, right, I'm sitting on the sideline to get into a stock. For example, in case of Adobe, again, back on August 12, right? Our buy signal came around, August 19. But if you're looking at just the oscillator and heat map, around August 12, let me just, okay. So August 14, 15, around this time frame, it has started going in the upward direction. And of course, again, coming back to my previous point, I'm going to look into the other data points as well. But let's say I am interested in Adobe, right? Adobe is one of the stocks where I want to get in. This is a great time to get in. Like, again, I may be getting around $554 here. And when this heat map touch, let's say G15 or G19, I may be looking to get out. That's my criteria of a trade. So this oscillator actually helps uh, to bring on the table that data point that supports you to make a decision whether you want to get in, when to get out. So it helps in conjunction. Don't just use it alone in conjunction with the heat map data. It's a very powerful tool. Once you start looking at this oscillator more and more along with heat map, you will see the value of this oscillator. Again, coming back to what other things I look at news. I know Chris doesn't look into news that much, but I feel like there are times when news can really move the stock up or down. And this website is very good, like newsapi.com. What I do is I simply come here, I add a ticker. Let's say I want to look into, I don't know, NVIDIA. Okay, I look into it, and remember with news, the more recent news, better it is. If you're looking at the old news, I mean, it has probably already lost its value, right? There is some value, again, not that much, but there are some times when, especially a bad news can make or break your trade. For example, everything is aligned, but suddenly, I don't know, CEO did something. He got caught doing something, or he is selling left and right. You know, times like those can affect a stock. So it helps me with giving, like, is there a positive sentiment, negative sentiment? So I just look at this website and pull, like if I'm making a manual decision. We may actually down the line show news within our portal, but we haven't decided that yet. So, but right now I just use this website. Another thing I look at, it helps, right? Uh, I look at Yahoo Finance. It's again free to use. I look at some of the recent quarterly filings for that stock, how it is, whether they are doing good, whether their sales are increasing, profit margins are increasing, things like that, how they have done in their recent quarters, right? Whether they are beating or they are regularly missing, right? So you may see some of these things, and again, to me, it is important. Why? Because imagine that everything is aligned, but the company is bad, like they are losing, they are not making money, they are like, all the analysts, right, are downgrading. Very important. In the end, it's not just our data that, or it's not just, like, there are a lot of other data points that market look into it, and one of them is analyst recommendation. Again, I give not a very high weightage in my decision making, but I do look into, you know how many analysts are in favor for this particular stock. Are they upgrading it, downgrading it? So things like that, it helps. And this thing I look into, I pull Google Finance. I want to, like, quickly look into how their quarterly or annual sales are doing, some of these numbers, if they have some, bad debt that is coming due, whatnot. I mean, some of these things really help in my decision making when I'm especially trading a company, when there's a new company, right, which I'm not aware of. I don't want to trade blindly. I want to first know about that company, what I'm getting into, just understanding whether they are making money, they are losing money, depending on if I'm trying to go long or short, things like that. So this step is one of the longest, in my opinion. Once you get used to it, may not take you more than 5 to 7 minutes to run this analysis. Um, and then that brings to my last step, trade execution, rebalancing. Uh, Getting in, I talked about how do you want to make sure that, the market breadth is aligned. If you're looking at golden ticket strategy, looking at those 10 and 20 EMA, those are aligned. If you're looking at heat map, oscillator has bottomed out and moving in upward direction, for example, right? Heat map, maybe it's not too greedy, like if it is G40 50, right, you may not want to get into. So if everything is aligned, then I look into in the morning, right? I look into futures, and this is just making sure that and we have this wonderful dashboard or a document in the Discord, right, called pre-market preparation, right, where I look into futures, your index futures, and I look into VIX to determine how the day gonna look like. For example, if I'm trying to buy a stock, but the day is looking like there's gonna be a bigger pullback, the VIX is very high, it's positive, and probably up 4, 5, 6%. You may see there's gonna be a very big pullback during that day, and either I'm gonna wait, right, for it to cool down, or I'm just not going to get into those positions. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow to see how the market is going to go, whether it's going to still continue with that pullback, or and when I'm making an order, right? Let's say I decided that I want to get in at $10. Just an example. I should always cancel that order. I should be a little bit more greedy with my order fill. Like, what should I bid, right? It should be closer to, how do I put it, closer to or less than the bid. If there is a correction in the market, it should not be closer to ask, right? So if I'm trying to go long, right, so it should be closer or less than the bid price, because if the market is going to correct, there's going to be pullback, and you think that you're going to get filled at $10. But the reality is, if you would have, you know, added that buy order at $9, it probably would have worked out, right? So again, these are some of the things that I just test. I look at the market. And there's this checklist you can see. It's in our Discord group. And again, you have to watch, once you get into position, you have to watch your positions every day to make sure that, don't forget about them, to make sure that everything is aligned. We talked about that. You're looking at heat map value, you're looking at the oscillator, you're looking at the market breadth, things like that. You want to make sure everything is aligned. Also, you're looking at some of these things which are, by the way, very, very good, which Chris shares, is making sure that times like when there's a event, when the price closes below 20 MA, just get out. Just get out, in my opinion. So again, this is kind of, these are the tools that I use: OVTLYR, Trend Spider, Market Watch. I talked about the futures. I talked about the VIX, right? There are so many brokerages, Tradier, Tasty Trade, E-Trade, VBull, Robinhood, and probably dozen more, right? So you can use any of them. And I have this slide as a reference here, which I love, by the way. And I'm also learning about these order blocks, which I didn't cover actually today, which Chris actually covered really, really well, which I think you should watch. Again, my goal for today is just to kind of get my feet wet with how I look at OVTLYR, how I look at some of this other data that we have. And I can promise you, I'll try not to give you a demo every day, right? Going forward, I'll try to be brief with my explanations, with my analysis. And again, I'm just learning right now. And then in few days, hopefully in few weeks, I will have a better flow for this presentation. So I hope you guys join this at 10:30 Pacific. That's what I'm planning to run these daily report sessions. And if you have not, by the way, joined OVTLYR, I would strongly suggest, right? And we have this deal going on right now for just $299 a year, and which will, and the prices are gonna go up after this month, after September. So if you wanna just lock in your deal, you can do that. So that's pretty much it. And I literally have not looked at the comments, and I'm just looking into it. Um, and I see there are some comments. I see that Chris is there. I see that Bluefin Trader is there. So yeah, thanks for joining, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, how to turn it off now?